Do you want to know how the black money works behind the CIA Heritage Foundation propaganda that's going on right now that's anti CRT, anti DEI, anti trans? Want to know how it works? Well, I'll explain it to you as the daughter of the former wealth manager of the top players in the Heritage Foundation and how that correlates to even world star hip hop. So the wealthy donate to Parents Defending Education, a 501c charity organization that then is one of the 11 securities holders in Nexus Capital Management. But back to Parents Defending Education. So really, the wealthy are getting a tax deduction for donating to them, and they work the very anti-trans CRT DEI in schools. They get parents riled up, encourage them to organize against their schools and against this CRT DEI indoctrination, as they call it. And really ultimately try to get the parents to sue the school. This causes the school to kind of blast through its budget, of course, while it's dealing with lawsuits and become encumbered in debt. And then pushes even further the whole ideal that public schools are bad. Because now, its budget is ruined. So that's part of where they get their money into Nexus Capital Management. It should be noted that all the funding that Nexus Capital Management receives is from friends and family loopholes that allows for an unlimited investment, right? But the caveat to that is that it has to be from people that you have an established relationship with. So you have to be working with long-term acquaintances or family members. So these people cannot skate by and say, it's just business. We don't have an established relationship with any of our investors. Okay, so understand that. Also understand that one of the founding partners of Nexus Capital Management, my father worked with at Morgan Stanley, has been seen around Amway Corporate. Amway is the Van Andels and DeVosses, which are heavily involved in the Heritage Foundation as well. And from what I can recollect of him, this Damian Guantanamo, he definitely is of the same ideals of the Heritage Foundation. Obviously, if he's working with Parents Defending Education, that establishes that relationship right there. Okay. So Nexus Capital Management also received funding from Lazard Bank, which works with Raiffeisen Bank in Russia to form Putin's war machine. They are currently under sanctions, which is interesting considering Donald Trump just moved to put in a crypto reserve, which really is just to get around any sanctions that may be placed on him and his cronies, his administration, his billionaire buddies, as they do all their crazy goof-toopery. They can still move finances through crypto reserves, and I'm sure Lazard and Raiffeisen love that idea. They also receive funding from Morgan Stanley, Apollo Group, etc., these big banks, okay? Some of the companies that they bought up in their portfolio that they either own whole or own partially, HDD Global, which is a military contractor, AI Robotics, soft-walled, hard-walled shelters, which could be used for, emergency, deportation centers that they're discussing having pop up around Army bases. And they just had like a big Army contract go through, I think it was about a year ago, for those shelters. They can run operational centers, all the HVAC that you need, water purity systems, everything that you need for out in the field in war or post-natural disaster or even a disease type of disaster. Okay, they also bought up Tom Shoes. So Tom Shoes has been working with the UN throughout the world, works with refugee camps. I wonder why they want the information and the data from Tom's. I wonder what connections they're looking for. They bought up the ACTs. It went from being public from like a charity type organization to now being privately owned. So now they have all the data, which if you know anything about the ACTs, that was originally kind of testing that was set up by racial biases anyway. And now probably have a bunch of information. Our brains changed over the years. They own marketing companies and custom marketing. If you're from Michigan and love cheese curls like I do, they even bought up cheese curls. So there's that. And then most damning is they bought up educational companies. Savas Education, they actually bought up the companies that push the DEI and CRT and call it that. And so they own the whole machine. So they own the education companies that they go around and they aggressively push down the throat of school districts to use. And then on the other end, get the parents mad that these programs include DEI and CRT hot words. And really, to me, I think just coining DEI and CRT like that is just has been a point to outrage people. We should be teaching people our full and correct history. Do not get me wrong. I support DEI and CRT. I just think the way that they use the vernacular has been part of this bigger plan to divide and conquer, if that makes sense. Then, most damning, another damning one here is that they're in cahoots. They own Media Lab with Green Meadow Ventures. Green Meadow Ventures is a venture capitalist firm that's owned by the Brokin brothers, and they are loud Zionists. Media Lab didn't just buy up World Star Hip Hop. They bought up Imgur, Kick, Genius, Depp, Piff, Amino, Whisper. They boast of having interaction with 3 million users a day and shaping culture. Green Meadow Ventures also owns Auto Alloy, which is an automation company, Angie X, which for cancer treatment, which we're hearing these tech bros all of a sudden saying they're going to cure all of our cancer. Pearl, which is AI tool for dentists. Govera Health, which is an AI tool for health providers and insurers. Cargomatic, which sets up like freight transportation. So it sets up drivers with different jobs to transport freight. Stripe, the payment method. Mirror Reality, which is VR headsets, which they advertise as a way to, so that if people want to tour your manufacturing center, if they want to tour your offices, you don't have to waste time with that. You don't have to waste time by flying people in and bringing them in. You can just hook them up with this VR headset, which I find interesting because maybe, you could also kind of fib and cover up how you really truly do your operations and just set whoever wants to see your manufacturing floor with your VR headset. Then, of course, because of course they're also in business with SpaceX and the US Bitcoin Group, because of course they're into crypto. As I've been saying, this whole movement has also been, the goal has been to sink the dollar, just like they're trying to encumber schools in debt to destroy from within, to say that they need to be privatized. They are doing that with everything, from the entirety of the United States government to its institutions to the individual, even with the outrageous absorbent cost for college education. So then I need you to understand, having World Star Hip Hop in what they own is not only to influence people around the world towards negative stereotypes, it's also to feed into their AI models negative stereotypes, if that makes sense. And just understand that, we're talking about like their business with SpaceX. I need you to understand the broader implications here, and understand that Occupy Mars is just a response to Occupy Wall Street. That the narrative of the Israeli regime, the Israeli state needing to be put in place goes back to big oil. It goes back to fulfilling regulations and causing chaos so that they can come in and take over the world. Some of you commented to me, don't you think they're just being smart in this next capital management and preparing for climate change? No, because they're aligning themselves with groups that deny climate change and are hoping to do that behind closed doors. So you can't say you don't believe it in one hand and then completely prepare for it on the other hand. And the resources to prepare and stop climate change should be in the hands of the people, not in the hands of a small group of elitists that are occultists, that are in private societies that want to cause chaos intentionally across the world so they can come through as the heroes and choose who they want to choose to save.